All right, here we are. Sports Bit, Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, weekend preview edition. Two good games coming up in big game breakdown. Huge series, Milwaukee, the Cubs and the Brewers, and the Royals and the Red Sox. Deep dive. We continue with the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers, and some possible bad news already, and the play of the day. We'll get to the rundown here in a second. The world's biggest and best sports bettor going away for a while. 70 years old, Billy Walters gets 5 years, Teddy, and a $10 million fine. They sent a message yesterday. You don't mess around with insider trading.
Well, I mean, here's a quote from June H. Kim, the U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of New York. Quote, "Making millions in the stock market with a deck stacked in your favor leads to time in a federal penitentiary. For the integrity of our securities markets, that is the blunt lesson our insider trading prosecutions must teach." What is he saying? Basically, he's saying we're going to use Billy Walters as an example. Billy Walters becomes the test case. And, you know, 71-year-old man, 5 years, $10 million fine, whatever. When you sentence him to 5 years in prison, you know, is he really a threat to society? No. What you have a U.S. attorney that wants to be mayor or wants to be governor or, you know, an ambitious attorney. Let's just put it that way. And a guy who's taking advantage of the fact that the case had Phil Mickelson in it. All of a sudden he's getting headlines. And that's why Billy Walters is going to serve 5 years, although he's not going to serve that long. Obviously, he'll get out for good behavior in theory, and the case is on. He's going to appeal the verdict, but certainly not a good ruling for Walters, not a good judgment for him, given, you know. I mean, what do you say, Pauly? Do you?
I don't know how to answer the why. He made $40 million in this deal. The guy seemingly, I mean, at golf courses, car dealerships, and houses all over the world. He sold like a $30 million mansion a while back in La Jolla.
Okay.
Well, I mean, why would you resort to that? You know, why would you resort to something like that?
And that's the truth of it. I mean, for all this, you want to defend Billy Walters. You want to defend Billy Walters. There's greed involved in this, and Billy Walters wouldn't be in this situation if he wasn't obviously looking for profits that most of us can't get. I'm not defending Wall Street insiders and the like. What I'm saying is that 5 years, man, that's tough for Billy. It really is, and it certainly doesn't make our industry look very good.
Well, maybe he didn't have as much money as we thought, and maybe the 60 Minutes piece about I haven't had a losing season, maybe he embellished that a little bit as well. Does this do anything to the markets? He was a huge bettor here in Las Vegas.
Well, does it do anything? Who knows? The truth of it is that if you're going to look somebody in the eye and says, "Oh yeah, I know what Billy Walters is betting," you're lying, because you don't. You know what he's playing through this group of runners. He's playing the other side through this group of runners. We would expect handle to decrease modestly because he does bet large, no question. He did bet large every weekend in the NFL and college. So maybe you see some reduction in handle, but I don't think the books will miss his action. Let's put it that way.
David Purdom, ESPN Chalk at David Purdom on Twitter. Nevada Sportsbooks won almost $16 million in June, $14.8 million from baseball, 100% increase from last June, Teddy. Those big-name favorites haven't been getting there other than the Dodgers and the Astros.
Well, I mean, the insanity is that, look, the books took a bath on the Dodgers basically every night in June. I mean, every single night they lost on the Dodgers, and they lost on the Astros just about every night in June as well. So when you talk about a 101% increase from the previous June and a $14.8 million win in baseball for the month of June, even with the most public team winning every single night, it speaks volumes about how well the books are capable of doing, even during the dog days of summer.
And also the tweet, the casino winnings in June. There it is. Checking in again. Penny slots, $255 million.
Well, the funny thing is, people actually think the casinos get rich off of sports betting. They don't. All right, sports betting is a loss leader for many casinos. It's not something, you know, they say, oh, they didn't build those big casinos from losing bettors. Well, look at the numbers. You know, that Purdom tweet really needs to be put into perspective. You know, 16 million, less than 16 million for sports. Every other basically category of revenue from gambling, they did a lot more than that, and that's not even counting room rates and show tickets and fine dining and shopping revenue and all the ways that casinos make money in the modern era. Sports betting, a very, very small piece of the equation.
All right, let's go rapid fire. Here we go. It was a short card, but a lot to get to. A's and Blue Jays under 9 is a bad beat, and so was A's run line plus the 1.5. It was 4-3 Oakland in the bottom of the ninth. Jays tie it, and then they get a walk-off granny to win 8-4.
Yeah, I mean, you have the blown save in the bottom of the ninth and the walk-off grand slam. That's as bad as it gets when you have the under, when you have Oakland on the run line. Brutal beat, second straight walk-off for the Jays over the A's.
Oh, buffoonery at Yankee Stadium. Looked like the Rays were going to win the game with I think it was Gardner on third with 2 outs, and then miscommunication on a grounder. Sanchez delivers, and then Gardner hits the walk-off. Yankees open pick'em and closed $1.30 or higher, and the total opened 8.5 and closed 9. So bad beat, bad for the books, bad everything, and it's a huge win for the Yankees, who trailed 5-3 late, and Girardi got tossed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looked like his ball game over. 2 outs in the ninth, a routine ground ball. Hecavari and Beckman got confused. Who's going to take the grounder? Ends up bouncing into the outfield for an RBI single. Next thing you know, the walk-off from who hit the walk-off in the Gardner hit the walk-off in the 11th, exactly. So for the books, bad result. Yankees took money, over took money, both end up cashing, blown save, tough beat, however you want to call it. Not a good result for the house, and a brutal beat if you had Tampa or the under.
Yep, one bad bet, 20-cent move on the Reds. What was this all about? 2-12 since the All-Star break.
I'm baffled by. I mean, we've seen Cincinnati money on a handful of occasions. You know, they're 2-12 since the break, 0-4 on this road trip. Every loss by a multi-run margin. Let's give bettors a hint, Pauly. Unless it's Tom Kohler. That was one day we saw Cincy take money, and that was okay because Tom Kohler can't pitch at a major league level, and he's no longer pitching at a major league level. But unless it's Tom Kohler, since he's a bet against every single day, the wise guys got this one wrong on Thursday.
Bad for the books. It's been a horrible week for the shops. Nationals minus 225. They opened and then closed $3 as high as $3.30 here in Vegas. It was a day game. How about the bottom of the fourth for the Nationals? Back-to-back home runs. Pop up. Another home run. 15-2. And Scherzer was pitching like they needed runs.
Yeah, the first MLB start for Michael Blasek after 108 games in relief. That first start might have been his last start. Bryce Harper with everyone for Nats had a big day, but Harper 2 home runs and a double, 4 RBIs, even though he sat out part of the game. Look at the tweets from ESPN Stats and Info. Nats with 4 consecutive home runs against the Brewers. That's only the 8th team in MLB history to accomplish that feat. And, of course, Blasek, the 9th pitcher since 1900 to allow 6 home runs in a game, the 4th in the last 67 years, and the 1st since James Shields in 2010. Bad result for the books all around in that one.
You knew this line was going up. Our stats guy loved it too and wanted the run line. Cubs 220 up to 275. It was Lester against Pelfrey. Lester was terrific again. It went even higher than 275 at some shops. Cubs and Cubs run line, bad for the books. Schwarber, 2 home runs and a triple.
Yeah, I mean, the books got a break from getting their asses handed to them by the Dodgers. And instead, the Dodgers had the night off. They got their asses handed to them by the Cubs and the Nats instead. White Sox right now are the AL version of the Cincinnati Reds. They're a bet against in every sense of the word.
Up next, big game breakdown. Cubs and the Brewers. Cubs in first place now. And the Royals and the Red Sox on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for a big game breakdown. Always powered by BetOnline. Exceptional customer service, strong promotions, and every possible type of wager that we're all looking for. Check the bonus page out at sportsbookreview.com for the latest and best offers to open a new account today. BetOnline. Cubs and Brewers. Huge series from Milwaukee. It is Quintana against Suter. BetOnline, Cubs $1.59 the total. Look at this. Since at the All-Star break, Milwaukee was 50-41 with a 5.5 game lead over the Cubs, who were 43-45. Today, the Cubs are 7 over and a game and a half lead over the Brewers, who are 54-50. And Quintana, new life, goes from the White Sox to the Cubbies. 13 innings, 3 earned, and 19 strikeouts. He also had 10 strikeouts in his final start for the White Sox. So last 3 starts, 29 Ks and 13 hits. And Milwaukee's coming off that embarrassment in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, embarrassment, only a piece of the puzzle. I mean, yeah, they got wiped out yesterday, but they're 2-9 their last 11 ball games. And this is a team whose confidence may be a little shaky right now. Look, If you ask the Brewers before the season, end of July, 4 games over 500, couple of, a game and a half out of first place, they're going to say, we're thrilled to be in it. But when you have a 5.5 game lead at the break and things are going great, and then all of a sudden everything falls apart at once, well, it doesn't feel so thrilling for the Brewers to be 54-50 right now. Counsell, after Thursday's loss, quote, "We've got to play better. That's the best way to get the ship righted. We have to get a bunch of guys playing well. That's how you win baseball games." What's that saying? Basically, absolutely nothing. He's like, look, let's put more pressure on you guys. That wasn't a quote that I was particularly enamored with.
Yep, Suter's held up all right, though. Put in the rotation for the last 4 starts, 23 innings, 5 earned, 20 strikeouts, 4 walks. He was the 965th pick in the 2012 draft. He's not great, but he doesn't do anything wrong, really. But you're going against this Cubs lineup. Cubs lineup is back. They've had a terrific second half.
Yeah. Flash that graphic that we used. We used a graphic on yesterday's show. It's worth showing here again. Look at Chicago's dramatic improvement over the back half of the campaign, or the back half. Since the All-Star break, we're talking about a team that basically everyone in the lineup underachieved over the first half of the season. That's not happening here over the second half. And even if Suter pitches well, you have to worry about the bullpen behind him, a bullpen that didn't get a whole lot of outs in yesterday's ball game.
Could be the last stand for the Brewers, too. I mean, they're at home here. If the Cubs beat them up, I mean, that could be it, Teddy, how bad they've been since the break.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, the Cubs are not a team I have any interest in stepping in front of right now. Chicago is bet on all the way until proven otherwise. So if I'm playing, I'm laying. Maybe I'm doing it on the run line and get the plus price return.
One of the they've lost twice since the break. One of the losses, they blew an 8th inning lead against the Cardinals. So that was, the pitching's been solid, and so is the offense. Bet online number for game number 2. Vargas and Price, good series. Royals and the Red Sox. Price $1.78. Oh, 9.5 the total. Red Sox, they always struggle on the West Coast. They couldn't hit. They went 2-4 against the Angels and Mariners and only scored 20 runs. They still come home in first place. Look at Price, though. What happened to the control? Bad enough he's getting in a fight with the Boston media. He goes after Dennis Eckersley. I don't like how this is going. Not to mention I can't count on him in October because he's never won a game that he started. But look at the walks. Throw that graphic up. Walks per 9. 2013, he started at 1.30. He's up to 3 walks per 9, Teddy.
Yeah, and look, we don't worry too much about a pitcher's win-loss record. But David Price has 5 wins this year. Okay, this guy's an ace, or supposed to be an ace. And, some of the stats, obviously the walks per 9, a stat that stands out as red flag, red flag, red flag. But it's not like he's pitched miserably this season. The team hasn't done well behind him. The bullpen hasn't done particularly well behind him. And Price, he's been okay, but he hasn't been truly elite. And it's a Red Sox lineup. You said it. They didn't hit out west, and they're running into a Kansas City team that's as hot as any team in baseball right now, Pauly. And some of that might be schedule-related, but you can't deny the Royals have played good baseball over the course of the last week plus.
Longer than that. They won 8 in a row. They're only 2 games behind Cleveland. They have the 3rd best record in all of baseball since May 7th. And you know who number 1 and number 2 are with what they're doing. 13 straight against losing teams since the break, though. But here we are after 100 games. The offense, 17th in average, 28th in on-base, 18th in slugging, 23rd in OPS. The pitching, 12 in ERA, 11 in FIP. Maybe I know they've had a run here against bad teams, but listen, the numbers don't lie. 3rd best record since May 7th.
Sure, and 13 straight games against losing teams since the All-Star break. Boston, not a losing team. Now, there's 2 arguments to be made here. Make a case, one, that Kansas City is a good team, and certainly I'm not looking to step in front of the Royals right now, even as they step up in class, despite the fact that they've been beating up on relatively weak foes. You have a hot team versus a not team, and the hot team is the underdog, and those tend to be situations for me personally where I have very little interest in laying any price with the favorite. But you can also make a case that it's a Royals team that is very average and has had a real good run of late. Obviously, the offensive numbers, nothing but mediocrity. The pitching numbers, nothing but mediocrity. For the full season, they've been better of late. And you can make a case that Jason Vargas is kind of the same thing. Is he a really good pitcher or an average pitcher that's had a good run over the course of his career? He's a 500 pitcher with an ERA over 4. This season, He's a 750 pitcher with an ERA just over 3. But you look at the advanced metric stats, and they say Jason Vargas is who he's always been throughout the course of his career. But, of course, the key for him so far is getting runners out when they are the strand rate, getting runners out with runners left on base.
Career 73%. This year, 83.5% the strand rate. Number 5. And the 73.5 in his career, right around the average. So he's 34 years old, has over 1,300 innings. So you don't suddenly get good in that category. He's been lucky. We'll get to more of this. We'll get back to this game coming up, though, with the play of the day. And up next, the AFC West. Not good for the LA Chargers. We'll explain coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. The Chargers in a second, Teddy. We need outs. We need more places to bet. What do you have?
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept here is I don't care if you're betting with your local bookie. I don't care if you're betting offshore. I don't care if you're betting here in Vegas. You need to have multiple outs. I encourage you, visit Sportsbook Review, take a look at the bonus page, and sign up for a couple of books today. Don't wait. Get your bonuses, get your extra bonuses from signing up from SBR, but do it today. My advice, a minimum of 3 books. You want a square book, you want a sharp book, you want a reduced juice book. If you're doing that, instead of losing games by half a point, you'll start winning games by half a point. It makes an unbelievable difference to your bottom line when you have multiple sports books to choose from. Again, visit SBR/bonuses today and take advantage of the special offers just for SBR viewers and visitors.
Los Angeles Chargers. Win total 7.5, over minus 135 last year. 5-11 straight up, 7-9 ATS, 9-6-1 to the over. Mainstream stats, 28 takeaways, tied for 4th, 35 giveaways. Dead last, -7 turnover margin. I mean, it was just comical how the season started, all the games that went against them. Week 1 against the Chiefs, they lose in overtime. They had a 3-touchdown lead in that game. They blew a close one to the Colts on the road. They blew it at home against the Saints. They led by, I think, 13 with like 5 minutes left at home against the Saints, lost that game. They lost by 3 in Oakland where they had the lead. I mean, it was comical how every week, Teddy, they found a way to lose.
And literally found a way to lose. So that's one of the reasons why we've seen a lot of over money come in on San Diego so far this offseason. The markets are saying, look at this team. They lost all of these close games. They're not nearly as bad as they were a season ago. I mean, talking about 35 giveaways in a 16-game campaign. Obviously, more than 2 per game in a number of games where turnovers legitimately cost them the contest. You say, here's a veteran quarterback, a good quarterback in Phillip Rivers. They should not have 35 giveaways again this season. Hence, the over money that's been coming in. And it's not crazy over money, but there's been a definite overbent on the early bets for San Diego with the season win total.
What do you think of some of the offensive numbers? So, I mean, they lost Allen right off the bat.
Well, I mean, last year, 5.6 yards per play. That's average. 3.8 yards per rush. That's bottom quartile. They did not run the football particularly well. A 7.6 yards per pass attempt, above average, and that's a testament to how good Phillip Rivers actually is, given the fact that his entire receiving core at some point last season was either on injured reserve or hurt or playing on one leg, and he still was above the league average in yards per pass attempt. 36 sacks allowed, slightly worse than average. Basically, the offensive stats were mediocre. Not bad, not good, but better than you would expect for a last-place team.
All right, McCoy is out. Anthony Lynn is in. Wisenhunt's back as OC. And Gus Bradley's new defensive coordinator. You have a running back in Gordon. Maybe they go back to ground and pound. And we'll get to the Lynn quote in a second. I don't know what to make of this because Los Angeles doesn't want him, and they aren't excited for him. They're playing in, this is embarrassing for the league. They're playing in Carson. That stadium holds 25,000 only. I don't know if it's going to be like San Diego, where there were games where Rivers had to go to a silent snap count because the opposing fans would come in and take over. So I don't know with the ticket brokers and if it's going to be the same thing and who's going to be in charge of the tickets, if there'll be any kind of home field advantage. Because they're not excited if they're coming to Los Angeles, I can tell you that.
And for the guys like Phillip Rivers who have homes in San Diego and are talking about commuting to L.A., you're talking about, if there's no traffic, a 90-minute commute. which is a lot of extra time in the car for guys that aren't used to spending that extra time in the car. But, talking about Anthony Lynn as the head coach, here's a guy who was the assistant head coach and the running back coach in Buffalo each of the last 2 years. And, he's got a reputation. In his 17 years of coaching experience, he's a guy that likes to run the football. The Bills led the league in each of the last couple of seasons in rushing yards and in rushing touchdowns. And when you look at the previous 5 years he spent with the Jets, Lynn's teams consistently looking to pound the ball on the ground. Obviously, they got a pretty good back in doing that if the offensive line can open holes for him.
All right, now you get the news that top 10 pick Mike Williams, wide receiver, could be out for the year. It could be a herniated disc. So who knows what's going to happen as we tape this.
Yeah, if Philip Rivers got like a Christmas gift, the first 3 picks, a wide receiver and 2 offensive linemen. Well, now there are question marks about whether the 2 guards they picked are going to be any good. And, of course, Mike Williams, who hasn't played a snap since the first day of the first minicamp, we don't know for sure. But the talk is herniated disc, out for the year. They've had the worst luck with receivers. I mean, when you think about what happened last year where Stevie Johnson was lost for the year in training camp, and Keenan Allen tore his ACL in week 1, and then Danny Woodhead tore his ACL 2 weeks later, and then Travis Benjamin got hurt, and Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry all missed time. Melvin Gordon went down late in the season, and all of a sudden, you've got a wide receiving core with a couple of undrafted free agents in Dontrell Inman and Tyrell Williams as the top wideouts, and Philip Rivers still made it work. So bad news, obviously, with the Mike Williams injury. He was certainly an impact player for Clemson as they won the title last year.
What do you have on the schedule?
Well, we got to talk about the defense first, because the defense last year, 5.4 yards per play allowed average, 83.8 opposing QB rating allowed. That's top quartile against the pass, 35 sacks average, and top quartile against the run as well. So it's a defense that put some new faces together in the off season, and an offensive line that has a couple of new guys. Certainly Russell Okung, the big free agent signing, although he wasn't good in Denver. And now you're talking about 2 rookies in Okung, so I don't know that offensive line is going to be a whole lot better than it was a season ago. But they got some studs on the defensive side. Joey Bosa showed a lot of promise last year. Melvin Ingram's a strong pass rusher. Denzel Perryman at cornerback, at linebacker. The cornerback, Casey Hayward. This team's got talent on the defensive side of the football, although the results didn't show that a whole lot last year.
Last year, one of the toughest schedules in the league. This year, right around league average. They play the AFC East and the NFC East. Multiple East Coast trips for early start games. 2 extra games, Jags at home, and the Browns. At Jacksonville and the Browns at home. What do you think? Early lean.
I've been all over the map on the Chargers. I'll tell you this: I'm not playing on them. I'm not playing against them when it comes to a season win perspective. There's a time when I was definitely no, I don't like San Diego. There's a time I'm like, wow, look at the promise for this team. And when I have a squad that I'm bouncing back and forth with, it's real simple for me. Find another team to bet season wins on. Watch them like a hawk in the preseason. No strong opinion on the L.A. Chargers. I keep trying to say San Diego.
All right, money time. Play of the day. Where are we going?
Well, we're going to Fenway Park, and let's take a look in a ride the hot, fade the cold situation. Kansas City Royals, the BOL line right now, plus 168. That's worth taking in a game that Kansas City looks very live to me. Is anyone having a better season with less notice than Mike Moustakas? He's got 29 dingers in 385 plate appearances. Look for the Royals to continue their winning ways at Fenway against the Red Sox. Give me KC plus 168. That's our play of the day.
All right. No excuses next week. Get the views right back up where we're accustomed to, 10,000 a day when we get into football, because we made it. We got a game to talk about next week with the Hall of Fame. We'll also preview the Raiders on Monday. Going to be a hell of a team. Have a good weekend. We'll see you then on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.